Let's jump right into this explainer. I want you to imagine a really wild but kind of profound scenario for a second. How would you actually go about proving that you're a human being to a machine? Like if I set you down right now, totally blindfolded, so you had no idea who or what was in the room with you, and demanded concrete evidence of your humanity, what exactly would you say? What kind of answers would actually convince me? Would you tell some messy, deeply personal childhood story? Maybe crack a sarcastic joke? Or would you, deliberately make a typo in a text message or try to express some beautifully complex, contradictory human emotion?
It's a crazy thought experiment, right? But this exact question, are you a machine, is literally the foundation of an incredible idea that we've been obsessing over for decades. To really get why this matters, we have to travel back to 1950. The brilliant mathematician Alan Turing published this totally groundbreaking paper basically asking, hey, can machines think? And what's wild is that he was asking this when computers were these massive room-sized monstrosities that ran on vacuum tubes and barely even had screens, let alone the ability to chat with you. Yet right then and there, he laid down the philosophical groundwork for how we actually measure intelligent behavior. Think about it. If you're communicating with someone or something, how do you mathematically, scientifically prove there's a real thinking mind on the other side?
Which brings us to Section 1, the imitation game or proving your humanity.
And jumping right into Section 2, the rules of the Turing Test and how the game is actually played.
So to answer Turing's 1950 question, we look to what is still, hands down, the most famous benchmark for intelligent behavior in a machine. You can really frame this whole thing like a high-stakes game of deception. Here's how the mechanics actually work. Step 1, 3 players are connected, but they're physically separated. They can't see or hear each other at all. They're communicating entirely through a text-based messenger interface. Step 2, one of these players acts as the interrogator, and their one and only job is to ask probing questions. Step 3, the other 2 players are on the receiving end. One is a flesh and blood human, and the other is a hidden AI. The interrogator can ask literally any question they want to unmask that computer. Just picture the interrogator typing furiously, throwing out trick questions about weird poetry or demanding a highly specific childhood memory, just praying they trip the machine up. Meanwhile, the AI on the other end is mathematically crunching out the most human-sounding response possible, while the actual human is just sitting there trying to act natural. It's just a pure, unadulterated battle of wits over text.
So, what's the magic number here? How do we determine a winner? Since this game is played with different players over and over again, we really need a benchmark. If the machine manages to fool the interrogators in more than 30% of the rounds, boom, it officially passes the Turing test. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wait, just 30%? That's a failing grade. But consider how rigorous this environment actually is. You have highly skeptical judges who are actively hunting for a robot. They're scrutinizing every comma, every tiny hesitation, every weird phrasing choice. Successfully deceiving nearly a third of those highly critical human judges is, honestly, an incredibly difficult feat. And while modern AIs are definitely starting to push past this benchmark, 30% was Turing's magic number to officially be considered as exhibiting true intelligent behavior.
Moving on to Section 3, why does it matter? Looking at the stakes in our modern world.
Look, the reality is that artificial intelligence is no longer some room-sized calculator. It's absolutely everywhere today. It's embedded in our phones, it's drafting our emails, it's curating the feeds we endlessly scroll through. Just look at this current list of AI achievements. It plays chess at a grandmaster level, completely dismantling world champions without breaking a sweat. It crushes human competitors on Jeopardy. It writes highly complex code and essays, and it even generates these incredible, award-winning pieces of art. There are plenty of highly intelligent, totally capable human beings walking around today who don't do half as well at these specific tasks as AI does. And that sheer ubiquity, that's what makes this test more urgent now than it's ever been.
Because AI is already so incredibly capable, it creates this profound sense of both wonder and, let's be real, a little bit of anxiety. We ultimately want to know if it can truly think like us or if it might completely outperform us one day across the board. The stakes here are absolutely massive. If a machine can convincingly pass the Turing test, does that mean it actually has consciousness? Does it mean human thought isn't quite as uniquely special as we've always liked to believe? Traditionally, the gold standard assumption has been that passing the Turing test means the machine can, in fact, think. But we really have to ask ourselves, is that actually true?
That brings us to Section 4, the flapping bird problem, mimicking versus thinking.
The entire premise of the Turing test basically hinges on one simple assumption, which is heavily rooted in the behaviorist approach to computer science.
This approach argues that if the output looks intelligent, the internal process generating it doesn't really matter all that much. You could summarize it with a fun little spin on a classic quote. If it quacks like a human, it probably thinks like a human. This really anchors the foundational belief of the test, that successfully imitating humans is a definitive, undeniable sign of actual thinking. If you can perfectly mimic a human conversation, the logic goes, you simply must have a mind capable of cognition.
But hold on, because there's a brilliant counterargument to that exact logic. Just copying a behavior or achieving a specific result is absolutely not enough to prove you're doing the exact same underlying thing. Just think about the concept of flight. Birds conquer the skies by flapping their wings, right? They're using feathers and muscle. But when humans engineered our way into the sky, we didn't do it by building giant robotic flapping arms. That would be ridiculous. Human flight relies on completely different mechanics. Massive jet engines, fixed wings, complex aerodynamics. We achieve the exact same goal, flight, through a radically different architecture.
So, because simply copying a behavior isn't enough to prove the internal mechanics are the same, this leads us to a massive, frankly humbling realization. Maybe machine intelligence and human intelligence just aren't the same thing at all. A machine might be built out of silicon and code, and sure, it might be able to talk perfectly. But just like an airplane doesn't flap its wings, that machine might not be thinking in the biological, carbon-based human sense. This poses a really deep question. Are we actually testing for a thinking mind? Or just a really good mirror, reflecting our own behavior back at us? Because if it's just a mirror, then the Turing test might be looking for the wrong thing entirely. It's testing for imitation, not necessarily cognition.
Let's dive into Section 5, the paradox of perfection, and the ultimate tell.
Now, before we completely throw the test out the window because of that flapping bird problem, we have to pause and acknowledge the staggering difficulty of the game itself. Just think about what is required to actually win the imitation game. We aren't talking about narrow AI here, like a bot that's only programmed to play chess. Because literally any question is possible and allowed by the interrogator, the AI cannot just rely on pre-programmed canned responses. It has to jump from chess strategy to interpreting an abstract poem to cracking a sarcastic joke, all in a single conversation. That means there are countless unpredictable situations to adapt to. The AI would still need to possess a massive amount of general intelligence just to navigate whatever random topic a human mind might throw at it.
However, in a truly hilarious twist, sometimes the sheer computing power of an AI is exactly what betrays it. Imagine a conversation where an interrogator asks a really complex question, like, what if I ask you over text to instantly multiply 4,829 by 7,314? If the hidden player answers that correctly in a fraction of a millisecond, well, the conclusion wouldn't be that there's some human math genius. The conclusion would be, okay, there is no way. You answered that flawlessly and way too fast. A biological human just couldn't do that. Perfection, ironically enough, is exactly what gives the machine away in the Turing test.
We've seen that the Turing test requires this massive general intelligence to adapt to completely unpredictable situations, and that the mechanics of imitation might completely differ from true human cognition. But it leaves us with one final, incredibly ironic question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If answering flawlessly and calculating perfectly is a machine's ultimate tell, is our inherent human flaw, our hesitation, our messy imperfection, our absolute unpredictability actually the real proof of our intelligence?